Hey guys, what's up? It's the Culture Detective here, investigating your favorite albums, and today I'm running out of time. I have somewhere to go, so I'm gonna try to be quick. But today is a really special day because today it is September 29th of 2022, and it has been exactly 5 years since Protomartyr, the band, has released Relatives in Descent. And yeah, let's talk about it. So Protomartyr is a post-punk band from Detroit, Michigan, and they have been releasing music in the 2010s. Before Relatives in Descent, they have released The Age and Intellect, which is, in my opinion, a very underrated post-punk album packed with amazing tracks. And after Relatives in Descent in 2020, they released Ultimate Success Today, which I also think is a really good album. But if there's one album in the past decade that not only I really, really love, but also almost changed my taste in music and almost at some points changed the way I view the world, it would have to be Protomartyr's Relatives in Descent. I actually listened to this album and reviewed it 5 years ago and gave it a light 9 out of 10. And yeah, right now I think it's even better. Right now this album has grown on me so much and I love this album just so much that right now I think this album is a 10 out of 10 for me. I pretty much enjoy every single track on this album and I really love what this album stands for stylistically. So anyways, let's start off with the album opener, A Private Understanding, with the odd drum rhythms, and the dreary and soury guitars that are at the same time beautiful and sweet. And then here comes Joe Casey's incredibly thick and masculine vocals that are very deadpan. And the whole setup is just really weird and odd. When I first heard this track, I was a little bit thrown off. But what I love about this track is how it goes from something really sour and deadpan to something really sweet and beautiful and emotional. And what I love about this album is the lyrics. The lyrics remain interesting, abstract, and thought-provoking on every single track. Especially with the album opener where the first two lines literally says, "Not by my own hand, automatic phantom writing limb," which is almost Joe Casey saying, you know what, I didn't write this. I wrote this automatically, but it's not coming from me. Sort of putting himself off in order for the storytelling to be even more provoking. And the verse about Elvis seeing the clouds and seeing the face of Joseph Stalin, and then the wind blows, and then he sees the Lord. And then the verse ending with Elvis dying on his toilet seat is both incredibly poetic and thought-provoking. And in this really strangely sour song, it just gives an extra dark context, especially how the track ends with, "She's just trying to reach you. She's just trying to reach you," which seems very vague right now, but at the very end of the album, it sort of echoes back. Anyways, we have the track Here Is the Thing, which is an incredibly catchy follow-up to the album opener. We get the skippy drums and a hell of a driving, groovy bass. Joe Casey storms in with an expressive, sporadic vocal performance where he seems to be ranting and rambling. Here is the thing, here is the thing, here is the thing. And it's just so insane and esoteric and so full of energy, and it really gets you going. And then in the last part of the track, it just an extra cherry on top with the drum breakdown and then the guitar solo. Bung 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 bada 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 bung bada 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 bung. It's just so gorgeous and it wraps us up really nicely, which then transitions into My Children with the ominous spacey guitars and drums. It's weird, it's ominous, and you don't really know what's going on. Joe Casey comes on and starts ranting and rambling again. Pass on, pass on, pass on. What's mine now yours, pass on. And it's sort of structureless and kind of messy and weird. But then this messy first half is completely justified after the incredibly hard, beat drop into another insanely bouncy and groovy riff. Oh, my children. Bum, 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 bum. And also the little bridge at the end of the track. So don't lean on the man, 'cause I ain't got nothing to give. It's just so masculine, but I'm saying masculine in a way I'm appreciating how thick and dense the vocals are in comparison with the very crispy and sort of cold and icy the guitars are, which creates this really strange combination of feelings, really, which is just amazing. And again, lyrically, it is really interesting because essentially Joe Casey is contemplating having children in such a hostile world. Anyways, the fourth track, Caitriona, unfortunately the weakest track here, in my opinion. I think the melodies are the weakest, but even so, it's not bad. The dense, noisy guitars and the 4/4 beat is fine. It's just that the track sort of slows down and is also kind of brief at 1 minute and 44 seconds long. But the rest of the album is one banger after another. We have the Chuckler, which is a very cold and icy track with very dejected performances. And the lyrics are really, really dreadful, talking about war and clouds of poison. It's a really emotional track, but instead of being tear-jerking, it just attacks you in the heart directly, making you feel empty. And I just really love music that does that. And then we have Windsor Hum, which wasn't really one of the more interesting tracks on the album when I first heard it, but the more I listen to this track, the more I love it. And this track essentially became one of my favorites. At some point, I listened to this track again and again and again. I put this track on repeat. Yeah, this is when the magic of the album truly exudes. The drums are catchy as hell. The guitars are incredibly dreary, nasty, sick, and depressing. And also, again, the very preachy and aggressive vocal performances. They're just so damn good. The sound that you're hearing across the river, saying everything's fine. And then of course this dryness sort of changes in the second half when we are hit with these huge frickin' piano hits, and it just becomes really empowering and damaging and dark as hell. And also the leftover jangly guitars are just a fantastic touch. And I don't usually describe music as dark, so when I say it, I mean it. And then we have Don't Go to Anacita, another absolutely fantastic track. What are you doing? Yeah, Don't Go to Anacita is a straightforward post-punk track with a bright, blissful chorus. Don't go to Anacita. And it has an amazing ending. Don't go to. I don't know why, but Protomartyr just has a knack of writing something incredibly catchy while sounding as dark and as dreary as ever. But again, this track is essentially about a town being consumed by capitalism, and it's almost like the townspeople have turned into zombies. Up the Tower is another fantastic track with the constantly hitting drums and the scarce guitars. It's really spacey, which makes this track very uneasy sounding, especially with the very aggressive refrains. Throw him out, throw him out, throw him out, throw him out. And then, of course, at the end of the track, it's contrasted beautifully with What a Lovely View, which is also really dark. Essentially, this track is about defenestration, which is an act of throwing someone of authority, probably a king or an emperor, out of a tall tower and make him fall to death. And yeah, it's spicy, it's enticing, it's intriguing, and I just love it. Night Blooming Cereus, sheesh. This track is a really weird and oily and gooey guitar-driven track that has so much distortion and reverb. And yeah, at first it didn't wow me or anything, but I actually really like this weird gooey sound, and the vocals are extra dejected here. It's almost like I've wandered into a dark, spooky fairy tale. However, the track gets even better when we have a very slow and gradual key change, a tight drum beat is introduced, and the whole track becomes really driving and catchy and interesting. Male Plague, oh my god, easily one of the best tracks here. This is a straightforward post-punk banger with a hell of a riff. And the chorus, again, just Protomartyr's just so good at writing catchy choruses. Male plague, male plague. And also at the end of the track, everybody knows it's gonna kill you someday. It's just amazing how well the beauty is contrasted with the darkness on this track. Corpses of Regalia, I named it the weakest track on the album, but I don't know what the fuck I was thinking. It's great. It's a good track. It's weird and mild, but it grew on me a lot. The buzzing drone in the back, the incredibly infectious bass line, I feel like I've wandered into a dance party in the middle of an industrial wasteland. And it also serves the perfect transition to Half Sister, where the buzzing drone ends. And oh my god, this is insane. Half Sister is one of my favorite album endings of all times. So few bands in this world can end an album on such an epic high note unironically. The slacking guitar riffs, the chunky drums, and the lyrics about a Roman asking a radical, a haunting incident in 1963, a horse from northern Michigan after being struck by lightning starting to speak in foreign languages. Again, very vague, very abstract, and the stories, the fairy tales are told with such a vagueness that it has a new English American twist to them. Again, with the biblical callbacks and the love and the nostalgia for 50s and 60s and stories about horses that don't even make sense. It's so... There's just an aesthetic in this thing. It's so icy and cold, and it's so wondrous almost. And again, it sounds amazing. It's catchy in a very freaking depressing way. And the guitars are limping like a zombie, crawling and crippling across an abandoned city. Bum 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 bum. And to make it even more amazing, we have a key change at the end where the song goes from something really dark to something incredibly emotional. And truth is a collecting horse. Truth is a babbling horse. Truth is the half sister. And also, she's trying to reach you. She's trying to reach you. Trying to reach you. Bum 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 bum. And even with the transition from dark to beautiful, this track remains incredibly painful. Like listening to the track literally hurts. Like my heart hurts listening to this track, and I don't really know why. But it is cinematic endings like this that really make me love this album, but also really make me love post-punk in general. And also, one of the reasons why this album just resonates with me so much is that I listened to this album a lot, like a shit ton, when I was 14, 15, 16, you know, when I was going through some tough emotional times back in secondary school. I would listen to this album a lot, and it would just really grab me. So, yeah, this album is something special, and I can't recommend this album enough. I'm giving Protomartyr's Relatives in Descent a 10 out of 10. Please listen to it. It's an album full of bangers. So, have you listened to the new Protomartyr? Not the new, but, you know, this Protomartyr album. Comments below, let me know. Like if you like it, and subscribe if you want more. And thanks for watching. I gotta go.